And good afternoon. Welcome to God's Influence on America's Religious History. Today our topic is Abraham Baldwin and the University of Georgia. Those who know me personally know that I am from Georgia originally, that when it comes to sports I am a big Bulldogs fan. But this isn't about sports. This is about knowing the history of our country. Abraham Baldwin, who lived from 1754 to 1807, so he was around as a young person during the time that the American Revolution was underway. He was a graduate of Yale University, which a lot of people don't know that both Yale and Harvard were originally set up to train people for Christian ministry. To know anything about those schools today, you'd be stunned that that's what their origin was to train ministers up to proclaim the gospel, but that's what it was. Baldwin was a trained divinity student at Yale. In fact, he was offered the professorship of the divinity department there. But he was also a chaplain who served with the Revolutionary War armies of General George Washington, and he became a representative in the state of Georgia, one of the original 13 colonies, and he became one of the two representatives that Georgia sent to the Constitutional Convention. If you look at the U.S. Constitution and you see all the people who signed it, there are two from Georgia, one by the name of Button Gwinnett, the other one is Abraham Baldwin. Baldwin was, like I said, a minister, a law professor, and he was the representative of Georgia to the Constitutional Convention. He was also the founder of the University of Georgia. This was the first public school. Harvard and Yale are private universities. This was the first public school to be financed in the fledgling United States. And in writing the charter for the University of Georgia and in being the lawyer who helped negotiate the chartering of the school, he wisely saw to it that the state assigned 40,000 acres of land that would make it possible for that university to exist. It's the oldest public school in the nation. And this is what he said in writing the charter that developed the first public university in the United States. As it is distinguishing happiness of free governments, that civil order should be the result of choice and not of necessity, and that the common wishes of the people become the law of the land, their public prosperity and even existence very much depend upon suitably forming the minds and the morals of their citizens. When the minds of the people in general are viciously disposed and unprincipled, and their conduct disorderly, a free government will be attended with greater confusion and evils, more hurtful than the wild, uncultivated state of nature. It can only be happy when the public principles and opinions are properly directed and their manners regulated. This is an influence beyond the reach of laws and punishments and can only be claimed by religion and education. He's going to go on to talk about how the United States, which was then in its infancy, had to develop public universities to train young people in how to be a religious-oriented people, how to obey laws, come up with good laws, and conduct themselves with character that they couldn't afford, in this case, to keep sending their young minds over to Europe to be formed over there, that they needed to have public education here. So the entire start of the college and university system in our nation goes back to the days around the time of the American Revolution, and they fell into two categories: private institutions, and some of our premier private institutions were done specifically to train people for the ministry. And public institutions, Georgia being the first public university in the United States, and even with a public university, the idea was we have to train up the young people in moral principles so that they will know how to act and govern themselves. It's really interesting in our day and time when we're seeing in very recent modern times the idea that laws should express the common wishes of the people and that the people should have the right to ensure that government listens to them. When what we're seeing is a lot of public unrest and a lot of cancel culture and efforts to silence voices. Even 250 years ago, the founders of our nation, Mr. Baldwin was one of the two who signed for Georgia, recognized that in order for the nation to prosper, we have to train up our young people to be aware of religion and to have moral thoughts that will govern their actions. How can you have moral thoughts? Only if you have an understanding of what true morality is. The people in our day and time who are trying to tell us that we have to completely segregate out any expression of religion from public life don't know their history. Our nation was founded on the idea that people do have absolutely the freedom to choose to believe or to not believe, but that society as a whole must understand that our culture, our nation is founded upon principles of morality and religion that are found in our Judeo-Christian heritage. Thanks for watching.